Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to go over a game I just played on chess.com. This is a 15-minute, 10-second delay, or I'm sorry, 10-second increment game, so standard. Um, so the opening was a Slav Exchange variation, which, okay, this probably puts some people to sleep, but it's one of my favorite openings. Um, All right, so I'll say that my rating on chess.com right now is about 1510, and my opponent was Openplayer, and they're rated 1410 roughly. So, okay, so I have them by 100 points, but I try not to let that affect my play these days. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this. So you have a Queen's Gambit, c6 is the Slav, and I don't like facing the Slav, so I play the exchange variation. And this is a weird move already. Queen takes d5. Okay, and I haven't analyzed this game yet. I'm doing it during the video, so we're gonna learn this together basically. So yeah, after queen takes d5, white is already up like 3/4 of a pawn, which is kind of what I suspected. And knight c3 looks really natural, and it's a move I want to play anyways, just winning a tempo on the queen. And my opponent retreated, and I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of like I have a Slav exchange, but I'm 2 tempos up or something. So I really like my position already. Um, Although I guess the pawn is on the C file instead of the D file. So, a lot of times in the Slav exchange, one of the ways to play is to seize the only open file, which is the C file. But in this game, it's not going to happen, right? Because the pawn's still on C6. All right, but he went to queen d8, and so bishop f4 is a move that you play in the Slav exchange. Just so you want to play e3, but you want to have a better bishop by having it outside the chain. So that is one advantage here is black can still get their bishop outside of the chain, but we'll see if they do. All right, so now we have some developing moves. I think h6 is probably a little inaccurate. I don't know that. I mean, unless he's planning on playing g5, which wouldn't really scare me either. So let's see if the computer agrees. Yeah, the computer says it's a little inaccurate. A better move would be, I'm assuming, a developing move. Yeah, like bishop f5 is good. Can you think of any other decent moves for black here? Yeah, the computer likes queen a5, so I guess activating the queen or even playing e6 and allowing this bishop to have some problems, but getting the other one out faster. Okay, so h6 wasn't the most precise. Now I played bishop d3, the best move. My goal in the opening, especially Slav Exchange, is just rapid development. You know, Sometimes I'll even like sack a pawn to get rapid development because it just goes such a long way in this opening. I guess pretty much all openings. I don't know, a lot of openings. All right, so bishop e6. So again, I'm going to criticize my opponent here. The bishop, I don't think, belongs in front of this pawn. This is a problem now because now this bishop can't easily develop. I honestly thought my opponent would go for g6 and bishop g7, and that kind of set up here. Although that didn't scare me either. People do play this Fanketto setup against the Slav, but I mean, these pawns are really solid, so usually the bishop isn't even active until like the last part of the game, if ever. All right, so now I played h3, and this is probably a little bit slow too, but um, again, in the Slav exchange, I don't think you want to allow the bishop here pinning your knight. So I really wanted to develop my knight, but I didn't want to deal with that pin. So I just stopped it. Plus the knight was threatening to go there as well. Yeah, and here Okay, so knight d5 does attack my bishop and threatens to double my pawns. So I retreated. Computer likes bishop g3 a little bit better than what I did, but I actually like my bishop tucked away in this h2 square. It really is quite a monster here. So yeah, and what do you think the computer evaluation here is in this position? Well, the computer is actually saying +1. So white is basically up a pawn. Um, I mean, not really because I haven't won material, but um, that's that's good. That means my position's pretty good, especially out of the opening. +1, I'm really happy with that. All right, so he decided to take my knight, which I also thought pretty much just lost a tempo for him. I didn't really see the point of this move. So bishop takes c3. Yeah, and the computer's saying +1.3 now. Yeah, I noticed like every time you go up a tempo, the computer eval goes up like +0.2 or +0.3. So pretty much he lost a tempo there, I would say. I mean, that was one of his most active pieces. My piece had only moved once. So eliminating them benefits white. All right, queen a5. So this move actually was the first move where I stopped to think. Until this, I was pretty much just trying to play the opening fast, because it's only a 15-minute game. So my theory is try to blitz through your first 10 moves and get a okay position. All right, so now he has a threat though. So he's threatening to take this pawn, which would also fork my rook and my king. And okay, it is defended by my queen, but still, that means I can't block with the queen. So what do? Lose my castling rights? There's no reason to allow this. I thought queen c2 is a good answer, and the computer says, yeah, that's what it should be done here. All right, so now just looking at this, I really think black needs to get developed. And I need to finish my development as well. So my goal now is just really simple. Knight c3 and castle is my plan. And keep an eye on my c-pawn. All right, so here comes the knight. That seems like a good move. And I played knight f3 as planned. Knight came to f6. So this piece is kind of threatening, actually. It can come to d5, and I don't know. I guess that's the only square. But once it gets to d5, it's attacking that same weakness. And the pawn is pinned right now, so that meant I should castle in my eyes. And yeah, the computer's saying that's the best move. Knight e5 is also possible here. Knight e5. What's the point of that? I mean, what if he plays knight d5 now? It actually says rook b1 is really powerful. So rook b1 just going after the b pawn, I guess. And after b6, then what? Now it just wants me to castle. So yeah, not giving. Although I'm curious, if I castle, can't he just like win this pawn here? Or am I wrong? What am I missing? Queen takes. It doesn't even want me to take back. It wants me to play queen a4. Wow. Oh, I see. So I have a big threat. So rook c8 has to be played. Now I can definitely take their a pawn, but the computer wants rook f to c1, winning a tempo on the queen. Yeah, it looks like, so white's really active here and fully developed. And you can see that black's going to be in a lot of trouble soon. And we already are threatening to infiltrate. Okay, so I guess all this would have been fine. But I didn't see it. I'm not good enough to see that far. All right, so I castled, which is totally fine as well. And now my pawn is unpinned. Yay. So my opponent played b5 here, which, wow, the computer says that is a big mistake. And there's a clear best response. So what do you think the best response is for white? Well, knight e5 is still strong, like we talked about, but the clear strongest move is a4. So a4, so I'm just thinking, what does this do? Well, it gives my rook scope. It's defended by both the queen and the rook, so that's totally fine. And now I'm threatening to take the pawn, uncovering a discovery on the queen. And if I do that, the queen cannot capture because I would capture with the bishop. So that is the threat, as far as I can tell. And I guess the best move here is bishop c4. Yeah, so trying to stop that craziness, I guess. And now knight e5. And this is really good for white. Again, black's defending a lot of threats, but we're not allowing him to develop in this case. All right, I need to go a little faster. I know I analyze. I like to analyze. All right, so okay, my response to this was bishop e4. I really thought this was a blunder. It kind of is. All right, so my theory was pretty simple. I wanted to attack, so I have a threat. I'm going to attack this pawn and win the rook if I do. The problem is, for some reason, I didn't see this move. This is such an obvious response. This, because I was thinking takes, and my queen will make the same threat. But yeah, here he has bishop d5. And now that little exchange seems totally pointless and probably was a little better for black. So, but white's still doing well here. White is still +1 in this scenario. Although black has the two bishops now. So all in all, I think that whole operation was a failure. And now I realize that, so I just came back to c2 to protect this pawn. So I actually was hoping, or I actually thought he would do this. And then I thought, what did I think here? Oh, I thought I would go like this. And I thought this would be strong. And it actually is. But of course, he didn't have to play that. Yeah, in fact, bishop d5's only move, but I didn't see this move. Yeah, and I don't think I can exchange queens here. But I could play something like queen b1 is apparently the best move here. It's just forcing them to move again. I'm still eyeing this pawn. Oh, I can even play e4 now because the queen's defending it. Okay. Anyways, let's continue, shall we? All right, so this move, queen c2, that's a sad move to make, but I'm still okay after this. So he took my knight, which I expected, wrecking my pawn structure, but I kind of looked at this and I thought, with the dark square bishop, especially being able to come here, this looks totally safe. This didn't bother me at all. I can also play the plan of king h1, rook g1 later and just aim this right at his king if he goes kingside, which it seems like he will eventually. All right, so e6, so he's trying to develop now. So I did find the best move in this position, which is that move a4. So I didn't play it at the most precise time, but I'm actually really glad I found this. This is sort of a generalization, but I find that the move a4 is really useful in a lot of Slav exchanges. It just turns out that way for some reason. All right, so here he should ignore the situation, I guess, which is interesting, and just develop. So the best move is bishop e7. But he decided to take, And I really like this pawn weakness now. So thinking in terms of an endgame, I like the fact that that pawn's probably a lot weaker than my pawn. And I took with the rook, which, looking back, I'm not sure if I like that. Yeah, what do you think is better here, taking with the queen or the rook? And the answer is taking with the queen. So apparently a queen trade is just fine for us now, which is okay. I'll be honest, I don't really understand why. I was perfectly happy leaving the queens on the board. All right, so I took with the rook. And I actually liked this better because I felt like it won a tempo on the queen. But I guess the only downside of this move is he does have a check. So queen g5 check. But I didn't really see a problem after king h1. And in fact, I am preparing rook g1 now, which activates my last piece. So I like my position here quite a bit. Even this pawn mass is a thing too. So I kind of thought, a plan later would be to advance these and play the move d5. And that should create a pass pawn for me because these would get eliminated and I'd be left with one. And I'm just learning how to create pass pawns actually. I don't know if I should know that already or not, but I'm not very good at it. All right, so queen h4. And so in hindsight, I think this move is a bit of a mistake because white has a pretty strong move here. Do you know what it is? It's the move queen e4. And I'm forcing the queen to retreat, and I'm also attacking the c pawn at the same time with that same threat from earlier. So this is pretty nasty. He's forced to take here. And I like it because my center pawns are even stronger. So this is really nice. I think I can use this, or at least I thought I could. And at the same time, I can also play against this c pawn now. So, okay. He played bishop e7 now. And the eval says white is plus 1.5 now. So even though material is equal, the position is good enough that it's equal to a pawn and a half. And I was down on the clock. So I think it's worth it to say that my opponent actually had 16 minutes, more time than when we started. That's how fast he was moving. And I was down to about 9 minutes at this point. All right, and there's probably not much more to show because pretty soon something decisive happens. All right, so rook g1. I do want to see what the computer says about this. Doesn't like it so much. I thought it was good. I mean, I'm threatening this pawn, activating my rook. Yeah, computer is not impressed at all. So what do you think is a better move for white in this position? And the answer is rook f to a1 is the best move according to the engine. So that would threaten this pawn and double my rooks on the a file. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, that makes sense because I'm not going to double on the g file. That would take forever. So this is just a better move. Also, rook a6 is a move. So going here. Okay. Well, I do that next, so I'm happy to see it. So black finally castles. So you can see how the lag in development, is definitely a problem now because the moves from earlier didn't really benefit him, but now I'm getting free tempos to move forward here. So rook a6 attacks the pawn. He can defend it pretty easy, but I like at least making threats and forcing my opponent to react if I can. And now I'm going to proceed with that plan with my pawn. So I want to create a pass pawn in the center and use that to my advantage. So c4, I'm happy to see it. The computer agrees that's strong. My opponent played king h7, and I have no idea why. That's just straight up a mistake, if you ask me. It's just a waste of a move. I guess he wanted to get off the same file with my rook. That's my only guess, but there was no threat there. All right, and now I played the wrong move, I guess. I played d5. Uh-oh, computer does not like this. So what's the problem with d5? What's stronger than d5 here? So the computer actually likes c5. Oh, I guess playing against this bishop. That's interesting. And then it also likes rook b1. Yeah, and I wasn't going to move my rook again. So just getting the rook on a nice open file, I guess, is the idea. Probably come into b7 and have it. Yeah, my rook would be really good here, wouldn't it? All right, so yeah, this is like a pretty big mistake according to the engine. But white's still slightly better here. And c takes d5 is the best move. So I play this, takes, takes. Yeah, and white's only slightly better here. I guess because material's equal, but I do have a central pass pawn now. So now I have to prove that this pawn is strong and not weak. Not always easy to do. But I like the fact that this rook is not active at all, and both my rooks are pretty active, and my bishop is a freaking monster. So my king's very safe too. Notice, and I did think about this, when I played king h1, I was happy that it was a light square because my opponent has this dark square bishop, so he can never check me with the bishop. Okay, bishop c5. I thought this was a weird move, but computer says it's the top move. Interesting. So just defending this pawn, getting the bishop active, although I kind of felt like it was biting on granite. Then again, if I want to advance these pawns, it is x-raying my rook. So you know what? I didn't really notice that before. So yeah, I should have noticed that. So d6, why mess around? Computer says it's okay. Now he came back here. And after this move, I felt like my rook wasn't active anymore. He kind of shut this piece down, so I decided to reroute my rook, and I went to a3, which is fine. So my idea is I want to put my rooks on d1 and d3 and just push this guy. See if I can create a threat. So he came down to attack my weakness now. I don't think the computer likes it. The computer likes to move rook c2 here. Isn't that what he played? Oh, it just needs some time to think, I guess. All right. And now rook d1. Not the most accurate. Yeah, probably because it gives up the pawn. I thought about this, though, and I was like, I'm going to sack this pawn because I felt like my pawn was too fast. And computer seems to agree, although it says position's completely equal now, which I didn't realize at the time. I thought I was doing okay. So I pushed, and I think now, I mean, this has to make people nervous, right? Pawn on the 7th rank. All right, well, he played this move, which is a total blunder. So here it says rook d8 or rook c2 need to be played. So rook c2. Rook c2 is interesting. I think it's to keep my other rook off the c file because I'm going to want to play rook c8. That's pretty much my goal now. So I think rook c2 defends that. But rook d8 would be a good move. Just blockade the pawn. Does the bishop work? Wondering. Apparently not. Yeah, because now I have rook c3. And I don't know what he does here. Yeah, the computer wants to play this. So that's winning. The computer cracks me up when it does stuff like that. All right, so there is no good move for black in this position. This is just winning. All right, so let's go back. Something very similar happens in the game. So first I doubled on the file, which I think is actually inaccurate. Yeah, when I briefly looked at this game, and rook c3 is the move here. So that is definitely what black should have defended. For some reason, I went behind the pawn, thinking I was going to push it. This did force him to blockade, but now I have rook c3. So I wonder if instead of this, did he have a move? Yeah, rook d8 works. He has to block with the rook here. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, because now I don't think rook c3 has any teeth anymore. Like, let's say he just does this. If I play rook c8 now, he doesn't have to take the rook. And wow, the computer actually says after king f6, black is better. So I think the king's going to walk over here and help win this pawn. Yeah, and then I'm going to be maybe in trouble because I'm down pawns. Wow. Yeah, so I did not play this accurately. But I'm 1500. What do you want? Luckily, my opponent didn't play accurately either. So bishop here. And now rook c3 wins it. Yeah, there's no defense to this at all. And I'll just show you quickly what happened, but this is pretty obvious, right? Rook c8 is devastating. He took the pawn. I'm like, okay, I'll just take your rook. That's fine. Bishop b6. I have no idea what that was either. So I queened. And now I'm just up a rook and a bishop. Pretty comfortable. I can just target things, and figured I'd activate my king too. Why not? Yeah, and here, yeah, he doesn't want to trade rooks. Then it's really over. But it's over anyways, let's be honest. All right, so at this point, I've got this whole file covered. So my plan is real simple. I'm going to come in here like this and checkmate. And he's probably going to just try and check me and annoy me and hope I screw up. So check, bishop here, rook here, defending the mating square. I could play this anyway and still win, but I decided to be a little sneakier. Well, I guess it's pretty obvious what I'm doing, but he didn't notice. So there you go, rook h1 check. And he resigned here, but now if he blocks, which is the only move, checkmate. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed watching my game. Before you turn off the video, I am going to go over one last thing. I like to, I think everyone should do this. I got this from I Am John Bartholomew, but every game you should learn something. And so I want to go through here and point out the critical moments and see what I could learn from this. So one thing I could learn, well, I could confirm that taking with the queen, moving the queen back, putting the bishop in front of here, the stuff my opponent did that neglected his development did hurt his position. So that's something to keep in mind, that the way I developed in this game was good, and I should continue to do that. Just rapid development and castle. All right. Yeah, I need to learn. Yeah, so, okay, one thing I want to learn is that when a pawn move is made, I think I should pay attention to what the pawn is controlling more. So in this case, the pawn is controlling the c4 square, and I kind of wish I would have seen the fact that this bishop could come to d5 or c4 thanks to these pawns. That was a blind spot for me. So from now on, when I see pawns moving, I'm going to try and look at the squares they're controlling and see if those squares are going to become outposts for my opponent's pieces. Because this is clearly a mistake. I gave up a lot of my advantage by doing this little operation, which was a total failure, and then damaged my pawns. I mean, this didn't have to happen. It was okay, luckily, but it didn't have to happen. Okay, a4 was a good move. I'm happy to see that. All right. Yeah, maybe another thing I could learn is that when I already have a rook off the first rank, it's probably best to double on that file as long as it makes sense. In this case, it totally makes sense because I'm probably going to win this a-pawn. It cannot really be defended again. And I'm not going to double on the g file. So yeah, rook f to a1 instead of rook f to g1 was definitely the right decision. That's something I should keep in mind in the future as long as it makes sense. Move your rook behind the other one. Keep your rooks connected. That should be basic. I don't know why I just thought threatening this pawn was good, but it's too easy to defend. So in fact, he gets development defending that. So I I forced my opponent to play a move that he probably wanted to play. All right. And yeah, I don't know. Is there any other takeaways from this? If you guys have any suggestions for me, I'd love to hear it. I really want to learn and improve at chess. So especially you stronger players watching, I really value your advice. So thank you in advance if you leave me any comments with things for me to consider. All right, and okay, so those are good takeaways. So look at what the pawns are controlling is my first takeaway. And my second takeaway is when deciding where to put your rook, probably connect the rooks if one's already out. So there you go. I hope that you enjoyed this game and learned something with me on this. And I hope that you love the Slav Exchange or don't hate it at least. And thank you for watching. Bye.